Good evening. I'm Haylee Ficuciello, senior correspondent for Englebrook Independent News. Tonight, we examine a developing and deeply unsettling story involving some of America's brightest scientist minds, experts connected to nuclear resource, aerospace engineering, plasma physics, weapon development, and highly sensitive government programs. At least 10 to 13 scientists, engineers, researchers, and affiliated personnel connected to major U.S. research institutions have reportedly died or disappeared under unusual circumstances over roughly the past year. Now, the FBI, the Department of Energy, federal counterintelligence officials, and members of Congress are investigating whether these incidents are isolated tragedies or whether there could be something far more disturbing beneath the surface. And perhaps the biggest question tonight is this. Are these merely coincidences involving individuals working in high-pressure scientist environments, or could America be witnessing a targeted effort against people tied to some of the nation's most sensitive technologies and national defense programs? Tonight, what do we actually know so far? And just as importantly, what do we not know? For decades, America's nuclear laboratories, aerospace programs, and advanced defense research facilities have operated at the center of global strategic competition. Institutions like Los Alamos National Laboratory, NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, MIT Plasma Science and Fusion Center, and the Air Force Research Laboratory are not ordinary workplaces. These are facilities tied to weapon systems, advanced propulsion technology, nuclear deterrence, plasma energy resource, missile defense, satellite systems, artificial intelligence applications, and classified national security projects, which is why recent events have triggered alarms within Washington. According to congressional officials and sources familiar with the federal review, the FBI has launched what is being described as holistic investigation into multiple deaths and disappearances involving individuals connected to highly sensitive science fields. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer has reportedly requested briefings and records from multiple federal agencies aimed to concern that foreign intelligence services could potentially be targeting American researchers for espionage, recruitment, coercion, or worse. At this point, no federal agency has publicly confirmed evidence of homicide conspiracies, coordinated assassinations, or foreign government involvement. But lawmakers are clearly asking questions, and some of these questions are becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. Timeline of the cases, May 2025, Anthony Chavez disappears. One of the earliest cases now reported being re-examined is the disappearance of Anthony Chavez. Chavez was a retired construction foreman associated with the project at Los Alamos National Laboratory, one of the most historically important nuclear weapon laboratories in the United States. Investigators reportedly described his disappearance as extremely unusual. Questions remain regarding where he was last seen, who he may have been communicating with beforehand, and whether his past work connected him to a sensitive infrastructure or classified construction projects. To date, public answers remain limited. Was Chavez simply the victim of an isolated disappearance, or was there something investigators initially overlooked? June 2025, Melissa Chayas vanished. Only weeks later came another disappearance tied to Los Alamos. Melissa Chayas, an administrative assistant connected to the laboratory community, reportedly vanished after dropping off her husband at work. Authorities say she never returned home. Her vehicle, communication, and movements after were reportedly becoming part of an ongoing federal review. On the surface, some observers may ask, how could an administrative employee possibly be tied to national security concerns? But counterintelligence experts have long warned the support personnel inside sensitive facilities can pose access to schedules, internal procedures, employee information, security movements, or logistic data valuable to foreign intelligence services. Was Melissa Cayesa randomly targeted? Did she witness something, or did investigators not revisit assumptions made during initial inquiries? June 2025, Monica Durango Ramirez disappears. Then came one of the most highly profiled disappearances in growing timeline. Monica Durango Ramirez, a respected material engineer and director at NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory, vanished while hiking in the California Angeles National Forest. where Verish reportedly helped co-developers a specialized rocket engine and advanced material potentially tied to aerospace propulsion systems capable of withstanding extreme temperatures and stress. In today's geopolitical environment, advanced propulsion technology represents enormous strategic value. The United States, China, Russia, and other nations are engaging in aggressive competition involving hypersonic weapons, next generation missile systems, and space technologies and advanced aircraft design. So naturally, questions emerge. Was this a tragic hiking accident? Did she become a lost in difficult terrain? Or did her disappearance deserve deeper scrutiny because of the sensitive nature of her work? NASA officials have publicly stated there is no current evidence linking her disappearance to national security threats. Still, investigators reportedly continue examining the case. December 2025, Professor Nando Loureiro killed. Then, in December of 2025, the scientific community was stunned again. Nuno Loureiro, a world-renowned MIT professor and director at the Plasma Science and Fusion Center, was fatally shot outside his Massachusetts home. Loureiro was internationally respected in plasma physics and fusion energy research. Fusion science has enormous implication not only for civilian energy production, but also for military technologies, advanced power systems, electromagnetic applications, and future strategic capabilities. Authorities initially treated the shooting as an isolated criminal matter, but as additional cases emerged, lawmakers reportedly began asking whether there could be a border connection. Again, no evidence has publicly established a coordinated plot, but the timing and consideration of these cases involving highly specialized researchers has intensified scrutiny. February of 2026, Carl Grimlemer shot dead. In February 2026, another respected scientist was killed, Carl Gillimer, a longtime aerophysicist associated with California Institute of Technology, was reportedly shot and killed on his own porch. Authorities stated earlier in the investigation that the homicide did not appear connected with his research. Yet, some lawmakers and observers continue to question whether investigators may have initially underestimated broader patterns emerging across the scientific community. Could these events truly all be unrelated? Or are these federal investigations now looking at these incidents through an entirely different lens? February 27th of 2026, General William Neal McLean disappears. Then perhaps the most alarming disappearance of all, retired Air Force Major General Williams Neal McLean's vanished from his Albuquerque, New Mexico home on February 27th of 2026. McLean's previously commanded the Air Force Research Laboratory, one of the nation's premier defense technology institutions. According to the report, he left behind his phone, wallet, and glasses. For investigators, those details immediately raise concerns. Most voluntarily disappearances do not involve leaving behind essential personnel items. McLeod's reportedly possessed extensive knowledge of advanced military technologies, aerospace systems, and classified defense programs accumulated during decades of service. So investigators now face difficult questions. Was he abducted? Did he leave voluntarily under circumstances not yet understood? Or is there another explanation entirely? At this time, federal authorities have released new public details regarding the investigation process. What investigators are now examining? According to congressional discussion and federal sources, investigators are reportedly reviewing several possible scenarios. First, coincidence. Strategically speaking, within large scientific communities, tragic deaths, suicide, disappearance, accidents, and violent crime can and do occur independently. Some families and colleagues strongly caution against sensationalism. They argue several individuals reportedly face personal hardship, medical issues, emotional struggles, or unrelated criminal circumstances, and they warn turning every tragedy into a conspiracy theory could inflict additional pain on grieving families. That point is important. There's currently no public evidence providing a coordinated campaign targeted against American scientists, but investigators are reporting examining other possibilities as well, including foreign intelligence activity, espionage recruitment attempts, cybersecurity breaches, potential leaks involving classified research, and whether hostile foreign actors could be attempting to intimidate, recruit, monitor, or exploit individuals tied to strategic technology, because history shows this would not be unpredictable. The national security question. Throughout the Cold War, both Soviet Union and the United States aggressively targeted scientists, engineers, physicists, and defense researchers for intelligence collection. Nuclear scientists were monitored consistently, aerospace researchers became espionage targets, technology thefts became central to geopolitical competition. Today, experts warn that the competition has only intensified. Artificial intelligence, quantum computing, hypersonic missiles, fusion energy, advanced propulsion, satellite warfare, direct energy systems, all these fields are considered critical to future military dominance, and many of the individuals involved in these recent cases work directly or indirectly with those sectors. That alone may explain why Congress is paying attention, not because investigators have proven a conspiracy, but because failing to investigate the possible could itself represent a national security failure. Tonight, there are still major unanswered questions. Why do multiple cases involve individuals connected to highly sensitive research environments? Why are some investigations being revisited simultaneously? Have federal agents uncovered communication, digital intrusion, or intelligence indicators not yet disclosed publicly? Could some of these individuals have been approached by foreign entities before their deaths or disappearance? And perhaps most importantly, if there is a broader threat, how vulnerable are American scientist communities right now? Because modern warfare is not longer fought only with bombs and bullets. It's fought with information, technology, research, cyber operations, intellectual property theft, human assets. At the same time, responsible journalism requires caution. There is a danger in connecting unrelated tragedies simply because they involve scientists or government affiliation personnel. America employs tens of thousands of individuals across defense laboratories, aerospace facilities, and research institutions. Some experts warn that social media speculation and online conspiracy theories are rapidly outpacing verified evidence. Federal officials themselves have not publicly confirmed any coordinated criminal networks or foreign operation. NASA has specifically stated there is currently no indication of a national security threat involving former employees, and some law enforcement officials privately caution that premature speculations could damage ongoing investigations. Those realities matters, facts matters, evidence matters, and tonight many of the facts remain incomplete. But perhaps this is exactly why the story continues attracting national attention, because the unanswered questions themselves are deeply unsettling. A missing Air Force general, a vanished rocket alloy engineer, a murdered plasma physicist, a dead aerophysicist, a disappearing personnel connected to America's nuclear research infrastructure, and now the FBI and Congress examine whether any of these could be connected. Maybe investigators will ultimately determine these events were tragic coincidences. Maybe every case will eventually receive a separate explanation. But if there is even a small possibility that America's scientists and defense communications are being targeted in ways not yet fully understood, the implications could be enormous. For national security, for counterintelligence, and for future protections of the people developing some of the nation's most sensitive technology. Tonight, the country waits answers, and until those answers come, one question may continue echoing throughout Washington and the scientific community alike. How many coincidences becomes too many? For Englebrook Independent News, I'm Haylee Ficuciello. Good night.